What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Raf Esparza, coming to you with another... What's up, everybody? Yeah, you don't want to look at that guy. You want to look at this guy. How are you doing today, guys? We are here to preview another week of exciting PGF action. My name is Raf Esparza, and you are watching The Bullpen. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. This is a joint venture between Inside BJJ and The Grappling Hour, and we're excited to see you guys because it means that the next day of action, week 2, is about to begin, and we have so much to get through today. So I want to turn it over to our good friend, Tim Freeman. Tim, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm excited. Week 2 is here. It has arrived. We got some shakeups, some changes. The leaderboard is interesting. Man, week 2, week 3, and the PGF, traditionally day 3 is like the big day. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say week 2 is going to be the week when the pack starts to separate. We're going to really see where this story goes for the rest of the season. So I'm stoked to talk about it today, Raf.
Likewise here. And guys, we have, again, so much show to get to. So we'll take your questions as they come up. But for right now, I go ahead and start with this. A note here. We'll get to you, Nick. Listen, don't jump the headlines. There is an order to this. It says, can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. More on that in a second, Nick. Let us break some news first. But first, Tim, I thought we'd start by going over some recaps. And if you would be so kind, it would be amazing to go ahead and see what it is that happened last week. But here's the challenge I'm putting to you. All right? There was a lot of work and action that happened last week. So what I'm going to do here is when this ticker gets down to 2 minutes, you will have exactly that 2 minutes to tell us everything that happened in week 1. So that means don't leave anything out. We will judge you on how much gets put into this. But are you ready for this challenge?
I'm always ready. Always ready. Let's go.
Doesn't matter
baby.
because you begin right now. Go.
Well, thank you very much, Raf. Week 1 at the PGF was a banger. It always is. There was a little bit of a speculation that, hey, maybe some of these guys don't have the marquee name thing that we're kind of used to seeing. But I'm telling you, the talent is out there, and they took the stage on week 1. Now, here's the interesting thing. We got a log jam at the top of the leaderboard. 4 points separate the first place athlete from the 10th place athlete. So there's room to strike right now. Molina Valdez, Rafael Ferreira, they're sitting atop of the leaderboard like Romulus and Remus from Rome. They're like, we're running this game right now. They're feeling strong going into week 2. Major surprise. We got Jet Thompson with a goose egg at the bottom of the leaderboard. There's a few dudes that are camping out right now on the leaderboard. They're slumming, and there's been some shakeups to the board that we will talk about, but I expect to see a boost at the bottom. It's like a stick of dynamite's going to blow that up, and we're going to see where those rankings go after the end of week 2. Team-wise, it's kind of the same thing. Only 4 points separate the Dolomer team from the Tropic Thunder. So this is still anybody's game. Everybody's in the hunt. We said this at the auction. There's great parity amongst the teams. No team really stands out. The leaderboard is reflecting that. It's testifying to that. So we'll see what happens in week 2. We saw 2 money bags get dropped last week. Rafael Ferreira took one home, and CJ Murdoch did. He compelled. He is the first and probably last guy that will be able to compel the judges and the audience to chuck the money bag. He got it. It was a fantastic week. Lots of things to talk about. Changes coming up in week 2, Raf, but let's do it, man.
It's pretty good, Tim. I mean, you kind of nailed everything, but did you leave anything out from last week that you felt you didn't get in that 2-minute recap?
Well, there's some changes that are coming. I didn't want to leak them too early.
Okay, that's fine.
Outside of that, anything else that happened, I don't know. I feel like you're leading me to something and I'm not catching it, my man.
I'm not leading anything. I'm just trying to give you an opportunity to use a few extra seconds if you had it. I didn't have anything to catch you with.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say, did you get the part where CJ Murdoch was yelling at people for calling him old?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
That was the first thing he did before he asked for money, which is kind of an interesting thing. It's almost like a jujitsu bag. You know what I mean? Like that's his cardboard sign. I'm old. Don't call me old. That offends me. Give me some money. It's it worked. So
It
good on
did
you,
work.
CJ.
It did work, but it was more in recognition of his talent. And this is a good time to remind our PGF athletes, don't yell at people for money. It will likely result in less money being thrown at you. And we went over this with our good friend Christos Papadelos, who was trying to persuade them to give him money and ended up coming off like Raven. Just to give you an idea, Raven from the professional wrestling world was famous for just going, "What about Raven?" And it came off a little whiny, even though incredibly talented, incredibly over. I see the parallels here. I hope you do too. But nonetheless, Tim, that was a very, very solid start. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and give us a little bit of the updates as we advance the board. There have been some changes, and I would love to get your notes on what exactly has changed for us here in the PGF from week to week, sir.
Well, so we know that Armin Bruni is out and Mike John are out. Now, I've heard another name. We talked about it in pre-production. I don't know if that's out, so I don't want to say it. I don't know if I
That name
can
is
say
also
it.
out. So Robert Blackledge is also out as well.
So that's 3 dudes who are going to be out. Now, here's the thing. Are they going to be out for the whole week? Are they out for the season? Are they out for 2 weeks? I don't know. I don't think that has been said, but some replacements have been brought in. I've seen Derek Rayfield's name added to the list, and I'm actually unsure about the other sub, especially Blackledge's replacement. I think that just went down not too long ago.
Allow me to help out a little bit here, Tim. I do have some names, and I will get them for you here in just a second. But the names that we are looking at are right now, yes, you do have Mike John is out. Spencer Ortiz is taking his spot. Armin Bruni is out. Derek Rayfield is taking his spot. And Derek in particular was the one to break this news. More on that in just a second. And then Robert Blackledge is out, and Nick Saff is going to be taking his spot. Now, Nick decided to stay, spoiler alert, in here because he was chomping at the bit. He's been here since the draft.
Yeah.
He has been wanting this spot, so he is very, very excited for this, and we're happy to see him get his spot here. And it says some interesting information here. I don't know how much more I can reveal, but of the 3 who are out, it is a big possibility we do not see one of them come back.
Oh,
so I want people to understand that even though we've changed the format so that people could have that week-long sort of resting period, here we are in week 1. And Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, we have more injuries this week than we did the last season where people were out.
Yeah.
And they have a week long to process it. So it tells you the severity of some of these injuries. Now, this is actually where things get interesting for us here at the PGF, because some of you, I'm sure, now that money is involved, at least from the draft purposes, which is kind of like their salary, you have to be asking yourself, well, what happens now? And Tim, I would like to advance the board. You had a second to read over some of the rules, but the commissioner himself sent out some policy reserve updates. And I would love for you to give us a little bit of a summary of what they were saying, what the commish was telling the people the updates are for these new policies.
So, and you have to pardon me, I'm going to have to look directly at my notes on this because this is fresh. So roster changes are only permitted in the case of a legitimate injury. So right out of the gate, we have to assume that Mike John, Armin Bruni, Robert Blackledge are out and they're injured. They cannot be, an athlete can't be released or replaced for strategic, performance-based, or, this is the Kevin Sherrill ruling, personal reasons, spa days. So I guess we won't see any of that. And roster changes have to be approved by the PGF. I actually like that. I think that will help cut down potentially on guys gaming the system. You can get placed on the injured reserve. Now, here's a catch. You have to stay out for a minimum of 3 matches, and you're allowed to be out for 10 calendar days. If you recover after the 3-match minimum, but before the 10-day max, an athlete can be reinstated only if there's space on the team. They have some free agent rules that I need to go over, but they look very interesting. And if the PGF catches you lying, taking a spot A, saying it's a hamstring, they're going to fine you $500. So they're going to take that bonus back. So interesting stuff. Whenever you put pen to paper, the lawyers show up, and I don't mean like actual, the real ones show up, but also just, the people that like to argue and talk and debate. So it'll be interesting to see how these rules get gamed. I assume Robert Drysdale's already thrown this into GPT and said, find all the weak spots for me. We're going to go at it. I stole that one from you, Raf.
That is my joke, 100%, and with good reason. I would tell you this, though, Tim, because I'm looking at this right now. I've seen the rules. I've read over it a couple times. One thing that does stick out to me, though, is the PGF has the ability to say, hey, we'd like our doctor to take a look here. Now, that's an interesting sort of policy in there, because what if you have, say, a medic, a doc, that is the Team Tropic Thunder medic, and he's like, you know what? I think he's not good to go. I've written him a note. And the PGF says, that's cool. Let's get the PGF doctor in here. And Dr. Keenan Lawyer is going to be very, very, I think, pro PGF in what they need to do. So I'm just telling you guys, I don't know what to make of this yet, but this week we get to see it happen with 3 people. Whether that has a great implication or not, very possible. But one thing that did happen as we get into previewing these matches is the fact that we're actually going to see Mike John be out this week. And this was the week he was supposed to take on Dom Lobo. So, not saying there would be the collusion of them not having to face each other here, at least now. They could potentially both make the playoffs, and that would then bring it back in. And I know them well enough to know they would take each other on if they had to. But it does beg the question, like, when these people start seeing each other, do those questions get aired? Is that part of the selection process? Do people even care about that sort of a thing? Because some of these people know each other very well. And last week we saw Chris Olivo and Armin Bruni go against each other. But some bad news here. Part of the reason I knew this policy was going to take place and that the changes were going to happen is I saw initially Derek Rayfield put up, I'm getting my PGF slot. And he was the first to break that news. And immediately in the group chat, you had the villain, the heel of it, Anthony Goggiani saying, well, who's out? Because it narrows it down, especially when Derek says, oh, I can't wait to compete for specifically my coach, Andy Varela. So then it's really down to a process of 5. So now we're just playing murder mystery here. Like, when they reveal these things, they don't just say, like, hey, I'm in and I'm taking this person's spot. It's like, I'm in. Teehee. Who do I go in for? And it's like, well, just tell me, dude. I don't have time to figure this out. I'm not sleuthing this. So when he put it out there, that was part 1. When I found out that Armin is out, you had Anthony Goggiani say, oh, now he's ducking me.
Of course.
And you know what? Unfortunately, that's a tough spot to be in because Anthony Goggiani has the advantage there. So I would say for Armin, who I know is a game competitor, I hope he gets better and maybe they get to see each other again down the line. But for right now, advantage must go to Anthony Goggiani, as hard as it is to say. But man, what a terrible time for that to happen for Armin, and what a wonderful time for that to happen for Anthony Goggiani. So that is some of the background on the rules. We'll obviously get into this a little bit more as it becomes people that are either challenging it or not. One thing that Tim didn't mention last week is we had a few challenge flags thrown.
That is
And that's
true.
one of the first times that I've seen a challenge flag thrown, and they were saying that you can't throw them again. So I was unclear if that's their challenge flag for the year. I don't think that's the case. I want to say they get one per day, but I also could be wrong on that. So we will look more into those rules. But for right now, we're going to press on to our next part on the board. And for this, we're actually going to go to a different board, but I need to preview it first. We need to look at the matches that are coming out. So what we're going to do is when we go to this secondary board, we're going to look at the matchups individually, but we're also going to take a moment where Tim and I are going to say our most excited matches. So right up top, this is your day one. Day two action. So this is your day two action. These are your first 5 matches of day 2. It's going to start off with Christos and Jet Thompson, and that is going to be a great way to set the tone. I'm going to mark that as one of my 3 matches that people need to be on for. Like, do not miss that. That is what we start the action off tomorrow at 4:20, which will be on after this, by the way. So mind you, it is going on. Week 2 action starts 4:20 after this show. So, Tim, from this, anything else jump out at you? Because now we even see Derek Rayfield being plugged in, and wouldn't you know it, even though Armin doesn't get a crack at Anthony Gojani, Derek does.
Yeah, the match that does pop off to me is Derek Rayfield, Anthony Gojani, to be honest with you, because both those guys are obviously Rayfield doesn't have any points on the board, and I don't think Gojani's very high on the board, if he is on the board at all at this point. So I think that's going to be a good matchup. And Rayfield, look, I don't know. The odds on some of these are kind of like, okay, I'm not sure exactly how they set them. Like Gojani's a minus 150 on this. But Rayfield is a killer, man. He's a great competitor. He's a great addition. It's sad to see guys have to drop out, but Rayfield is no slouch, man. So I'm really excited to see that match, just to see what Derek Rayfield comes out to the mat, because it sounds like he's motivated and hungry. He could really shake things up.
But Derek, to me, follows in the Chris Oliva line of that's a bigger dude in this weight class to me. Like that is not a 155er. That's a dude who cut down, made the weight. And to me, I wonder if that weight allows him some leniency for some of the other guys. For Gojani, he's a good size. So that is a very good match. And we'll get a sense of where both of them are in this tournament. Because to my knowledge, Gojani isn't necessarily on the board, but did get some respect last week when he was putting up some good matches up against some of the other guys. So keep that in mind, guys. We're going to advance this, but before we do, I just want to give some acknowledgement to Anthony and Landon. I'm not sure it's one of my top 3 of the day, but I think that's going to be a significant match, because if Anthony continues the momentum he gets and beats Landon, a big statement. Landon has been very, very consistent, but Anthony was emerging as a leader last week. So that's the first set of 5. We go to our second block right now. It's going to be followed by Joseph Bowers and Matt Mash, which again should be great. We'll get to the odds on these a little bit later, but for right now, if I'm picking from this block, a must watch off of this, honestly, for me, is going to be very telling to see how it happens with, let's call it right now. I actually think the one to watch in this one is Joseph Bauer, JJ Bowers, and Matt Mash, because JJ Bowers went for a lot of money and Matt Mash didn't go for as much. And arguably, this might be for some bragging points right there, Tim.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And it's going to be a banger of a match. Like, those are 2 guys that are going to really bring some energy to it and get after it. So, outside of motivation, even if they were tied, they were just meeting up at the park on a Sunday to have some recreation jiu-jitsu, it would be a hell of a match to watch those 2 guys go after it. So
beautiful. Let's move on. Next set is going to be matches 11 through 15. In this set, you're going to see Jet Thompson go back to work against JJ Bowers. JJ's going to have a hard day tomorrow, so we're really going to see what he is made of. But not to be outdone, then you've got Molina versus John Chandler, which is a very fun match as well. And then in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and say my one to watch here. Obviously, JJ and Jet, that should have some on it. I want to see what happens between CJ Murdoch and Juan Martinez. I want to see that match. I'm going to put a marker on that one. Secondary note to Dom Lobo and Zach Schneider, because both of them have an underdog aspect to them, despite last week, both of them getting kills. So very interested. What say you here, Tim?
The matchup I'm looking at is match 12. Chandler's got a rough day for week 2 in that a couple of his matchups he's going against guys that are like at the top or near the top. I think he goes up against Olivos his first matchup, and now he's got to take on Anthony Molina Valdez, who's at the top of the leaderboard. Chandler's got 1 point. There's a big gap. I think that's going to be a good match to watch, because Chandler's, you got to get, like, if you're near the bottom, you got to go out and make a stake. You got to put points up there, and week 2 is a big opportunity for him to do that, but he's got tough guys. So I'm really interested to see how he kind of plays that out, and if Valdez can keep the momentum up and stay at the top of the board, because we've seen in the past guys jump out at the top and then start to level off. Now that there's time in between, maybe guys can stay up near the top, and you won't see endurance and health be such a factor over that original like 4-day Ironman style.
Well, don't worry. If you want to see health and the health bars, you can check out the PGF Action, which is the first league in professional jiu-jitsu to actually have Street Fighter-like energy bars. And it's been fascinating to watch that data. So shout out to the sensei, whatever folks that have incredible data. I want to learn more about this, but those graphics have been incredible to watch. I actually hope we're able to do it even more. But just the few times we've put it up, because they put it on, I think it's every other match, just so they can swap it out in between the matches. But it's been fascinating, and I'm a big fan of that. So let's move on to our next set, which is the 16 through 20 block. On this one, what is one to watch out for? I mean, on paper, I like Rayfield and Mash a lot. Would have loved to have seen Mike John and Rafael Ferreira. Not going to see that one, unfortunately, tomorrow. But I actually think match 17 is the one I'm going to mark on this block. Match 17, Derek Rayfield. We'll see what he's really coming to this game with, and that's a great test in a former EBI champ in Matt Mash. I'm sorry, is it CJJ? I think it's CJJ. My apologies.
Yeah, CJJ. Yeah, I'm looking at match 20 there, Papadelos and Jordan Worth. Papadelos, excuse me. Sorry, Christos. I called him Chris and caught the ire of him at the auction. I was like, I apologize, sir. He gave me a lecture for 45 minutes.
Oh, boy. I'm sure it was just as compelling at his argument to be made worth more money, right?
It was practice. Yeah, he was warming up. So you got Papadelos. Look, he's got 7 points. He's stuck at second place right now on the leaderboard. He's going up against Jordan Worth, who has 5 points. Worth had a good week last week, and Worth is the kind of guy that could beat anybody, and he's not going to hang out at the bottom. He's not a bottom style dude who's going to be no points for the whole week. So I'm really interested in seeing how this match plays out. I feel like Papadelos is starting to make a strong stake for maybe him being the number 1 pick. There's always the number 1 pick, but then there's like, who's the actual number 1 pick? So really interested in seeing how his performance is.
Let's put it this way. Would we see Hoffa versus Christos? I think that's a big match to keep eyes on.
Yeah, it is.
I would tell people when that one comes around, whenever it comes around, have your eyes on that. Let's move now to our next one, which is 21 through 25. Right off the top, this is already going to be very fun. Jet Thompson always kicks off the action for his team here. On this one, the one to watch, man, there's 2 here. I want to say this. Hoffa, Juan, you should be the one to watch, just based off of jiu-jitsu interest. But we're going to go off of drama here. The drama between Christian Olivo and Anthony Gojani has been so fever-pitched that how is that not the one to see? Because does it live up to the hype? Those two have been talking mad trash. Go Johnny didn't waste any time in saying that Anthony was ducking him. And there was talk if the two of them were going to swing on each other, which, by the way, no, you're not. Don't swing on each other. That's a fucking stupid thing to do. But there was talk on if they were going to swing on each other at the draft. They didn't. And here we are a few weeks later. So here's the opportunity, boys, for you to go to work and actually get paid for it, as opposed to fighting like hooligans for an organization that's about being a professional. So, Tim, what notes do you have?
Yeah, note number one, if you're going to swing on somebody, boys, you don't tell them you're going to swing on them. You don't debate it in the competitor chat. So that's strike one. You ain't going to swing on nobody. Don't do it. The matchup I'm looking at, you alluded to, is Rafael Ferreira and Juan Martinez. Is it the fifth? Juan Martinez 5, I think.
He's the fifth, yes.
Yeah, I'd want to get that right. Ferreira's at the top of the board. Martinez is surprising to me. I thought he would have some points on the board right now. He is at the bottom. There's a big swing in that, but I don't think the points tell the whole story in terms of the mat skill set. I think it's going to be a good test for Ferreira. And, Martinez is hungry, dude. He wants to get after it. So I'm looking forward for that matchup quite a bit.
Sometimes for these guys, it just takes one day, one magic day to kick in that momentum. Is that Juan's day tomorrow? Now, they have met before, and I do believe the Hoffa has gotten the better of him. And with that being said, that would give Hoffa the momentum to continue doing it. But who knows? It is difficult to give a full assessment here other than to say, let's see how they go. But I would say for jiu-jitsu, that's the one you probably want to keep your eyes on. For drama, Christian and Anthony Goggiani, I think that's the one you want to stay for. So we're going to now move to the last set of 5 that is set for week 2, and that is going to be Christos and John Chandler. Talk about some energy for days. Love seeing that. But then you've got Landon, who's got Nick. So this was what Nick was talking over here a little bit earlier. And Nick wanted to preview something by just saying, like, Hoffa, Landon, and Gojani going down tomorrow. Well, yep. Easier said than done, young man. I believe in your talents, not in mine. So God bless. Then you also see it was supposed to be Mike John versus JJ Bowers, which would have been fire, but we're not seeing that one. You've got Brady Brandstrom versus Zach Schneider, which actually that looks pretty scrappy. That could be a very fun match as well. And Derek Rayfield versus CJ Murdoch. So on this one, I have to go up top, and I have to say Christos versus John Chandler. I think that's the one to watch in this one. A lot of great momentum. And, John Chandler last week didn't have the best week, didn't have the worst week. So for him, I think he's coming in like he wants to prove something. And watch this man give you a flying highlight at some point. He has gotten a flying highlight in the past. I've seen it happen. He's capable of a lot, so I really do feel like he can surprise us. The question is tomorrow the day? And I noticed this. Nick, you're putting it out there. At least 2 chokes. So, Nick, not only are you making a bold prediction here, you decided to make one that didn't even happen last week. Like, coming into this, you're like, not only am I going to do well, but I'm going to do better than everybody else did last week. So that is some bold statements, and I love hearing that, sir. So we wish you all the best. But Tim, did you have any notes on this last set of 5?
I think you hit it, but I'm just looking at Chandler's day tomorrow on week 2. He's got Olivo, he's got Molina Valdez, and Papadelos. And that's a test, man. That is a test right there. So I think that's going to be a match to watch. I want to see what Nick Saff does. Nick Saff has been hungry. He's been wanting it. He's been lurking. He's been hanging out on the show. He's been hanging out in the sidelines. He's like, I'm coming. I don't think he's signing off. I think he's staying on the stream. I think we're leaving and he's hanging out. He's like, no, boys, I'm coming, guys. I told you. This is basically he's Robert De Niro in I can't remember the damn name of the movie. Never mind.
He's underneath the car, just hanging out there.
Read my mind.
Yes. Surprise, 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 counselor. Oh, my voice will get very syrupy very quickly if I need it to be. So this is an interesting comment from Brad. Thank you so much for this. Alum himself. Ooh, Derek Rayfield is in as an alternate. That'll bring some drama. Now, listen. I hope it's the fun drama and not the everybody brawl drama. I think,
Yeah.
guys, that only happens at late night tournaments when it's glow in the dark. We're not glow in the dark, so hopefully we don't have that happening here. If we do, I will say this, with Anthony Varela put up that one of the boys getting into it and getting into some scraps, I just told him I wasn't a fan of it until I heard his commentary that he put on his Instagram reel, and I said, oh, that's actually pretty good. I'm a fan now. So I thought that was pretty entertaining. But nonetheless, those are your matchups that are happening for week 2. We're very excited for that. But let's return back to the board now and pick up where we left off, which is getting into the odds. Now, Tim, for this, I would love for you, I'm putting time on the clock, to go through and start giving us some of the more interesting prop bet lines that have come up. So we've got these bet lines that are happening for the actual week 2 action, but I'd love for you to pick out some of the more significant ones that people may need to have their eyes on, sir.
Yeah, for sure. So betonline.ag actually has lines up for PGF season week 2. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't know who's doing the lines. I don't know what the max bets are, but this is an opportunity for you if you're into sports betting and you're into jiu-jitsu. I actually foresee the ability to potentially make some bet online wins. Okay. So here we go. Man, right out of the gate, Papadelos and Jet Thompson. Jet is a minus 250 on this. Papadelos is a plus 170. That's a tough bet to take either way. I would stay away from that bet, to be honest with you. Probably that's going to end up in a goose egg. I don't really see either guy getting a sub. So I would walk on that. I would not take those odds. What are the other openings here that we're looking at? We got John Chandler is a plus 200 against Chris Olivo. Olivo's a minus. That's a big gap. You might get some action on Nick Saff versus Rafael Fajeda. Nick is a plus 150, and that's not a bad bet for Nick. The challenge is that Fajeda is killing it right now, and it's kind of hard to bet against him. But if you're into taking a risk and you know a little bit about these guys, you know that Nick Saff has a strong jiu-jitsu game. So you could definitely get in there. Plus 150 is not too much risk to take on that. And then we have CJ Murdoch versus Jordan Worth. Murdoch is a minus 155 and Worth is a plus 115. I think Worth is a potential bet here to make some money. 100%. I would take that bet. Let's jump down to the bottom of the list and see if there's anything else we could exploit. You got JJ. Oh, that's a Mike John. He's gone now. We got Brady Branscombe at the bottom. He's a plus 110 against Zach Snyder. He is a minus 150. That's probably a good bet for Zach Snyder. I would take that bet. I think Branscombe is a really good athlete and he's getting after it, but he's got tough matchups and it's going to be at the end of the day. And a lot of these guys are a little more worn down than what they are at the beginning of the day. I think that's a safe pick. So those are mine for the day, man. There's not, it's a little tricky to get accustomed to like you're looking at the odds and you're like, okay, why is this like this? And why is that like that? A lot of the lines seem to be based on previous performance in the previous week and then previous PGF performances. I don't know if the other promotions are being taken into an account. But definitely going to keep my eye on these lines week to week. I actually look forward to following this quite closely, my friend.
I want to point this out, and this is where things for the injured reserve policy, I'm happy that we're starting to do that because it is very difficult to prep for those betting lines if we don't have a policy like this. So now you see something like a Mike John in there, and him not competing tomorrow has significant differences in what those betting lines are going to be. because there's a few that pique the interest. So it's wondering, do you take money risks on somebody like a John Chandler who has the capability to perform, but has a heavy day? And that's not a bad question. And I wonder if these odds makers are taking into consideration, not just match by match, but their full day. Because do you modify it based off of like, oh, we think this is an easier match? Okay, is it an easier match if you have the number 1 or 2 seed that's going after them? So I would love to get that information. But for right now, a few of those betting lines, I would, as a compulsive gambler, be a little hesitant on taking until I see the betting lines on the replacements in there, because part of me wonders, do they give the advantage to the homies that were already in season 8 and to some of these alternates? And I've got news for you guys. A couple of the alternates on the extra alternates list that I have seen. You said a little bit earlier to call a lawyer. Well, if we have somebody else go on the injured reserve, I think you might be calling a lawyer, and I think that's what we'll leave it at. I also want to ask this right now, and it says, to be frank, Papadopoulos deserved the extra money. Who have we ever seen do that sub? Pay the man. So again, I love that you guys are getting behind your boy. Give him love, give him support. He hit a full Nelson, aka a master lock. I would say this. I would say that I think we're getting to a point now where it's not just hitting unique moves, it's how much are you capturing the audience. So when you guys realize that a lot of what you're doing on here, when you do interviews with us or you talk to your camera, or you get on your Instagram, or we help hype you, it's creating more want. You want people to want to see you more. And that is part of what gets people to throw that out there. So that's why when I told my man it was a B- at the draft, just saying, maybe a better speech might have gotten somebody to throw that money. I'm just saying, that's all. B-, things matter. That's why I try to help my friends. So I inspire. That's what I try to do here. But yes, definitely get more into your boys and definitely give them that respect. But just because you're in the comment section doesn't necessarily mean they're going to throw those money bags, because we only have so many that we're throwing out for that. And it seemed more cheap than whiny, in my opinion. No, it was definitely whiny. He came off super whiny. But it wasn't that it wasn't bad or it wasn't good. It was like, dude's really talented. Give him time. I think he's going to hit a submission that will definitely break the bank. But give him time. And from the people from the money bags, well, don't insult the people with the money bags, bro. That's the easiest way your boy's not going to get extra money. Let's go to our next topic, which is this: fantasy. So I got a note here from the commish, and it's happening during the live broadcast, and it says fantasy is missing info on the site. Actually, no, that's from you, Tim. Fantasy is missing info. What is the info that is missing for us, sir?
Well, it's back now. There's something's going on the PGF fantasy site in general. But it looks like the team names were gone and now they're back. There's some suffixes on the names that look like unique identifiers.
So why don't you
call me up, man? I work in tech. I could help you guys. Yeah.
I was about to say, I was like, we have so many resources here on this team. So Tim, tell us a little bit about who the number 1 players have been so far in terms of bang for your buck, and we can go from there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, bang for your buck. That's a good question. Let me take a peek at the leaderboard, because the stat that I'm really trying to drive home that I think is important is the points per dollar. Like, it's like how many points are these guys scoring based on how much they made in the draft? And there's a certain argument to be made that says, look, when somebody is the number 1 pick, then everybody's kind of game planning to beat them, so their scores might be a little lower. But in general, that's kind of what we're looking at. So guys like Rafael Fajeda is doing really well. He's got 8 points on the board. Dominic Lobo's got 6 points on the board. This is just the PGF team's points he's put up for his team. Lobo went for the minimum, right? So he's doing fantastic. He's standing out. CJ Murdoch's got 4 points. Jordan Worth's got 5 points. These guys didn't go for high numbers in the draft, but they're right up at the top of the leaderboard in terms of points. If you're just talking fantasy points, Dominic Lobo, Mike John, RIP, he's not with us this week. Rafael Fajera or Hafa, sorry about that, Raf, and Matt Mash are right at the top of the leaderboard for fantasy points. And then if we're talking about squads, and I want to bring this up because these are the squads that the people have. These are the people's squads. If you look at the people's squads, in place number 23 is Inside BJJ. And when I look at my phone right here, it says you because it's talking to me, parentheses. And then I scroll down and I'm looking for a certain fowl poultry product that people eat in the morning. And sometimes they scramble them and sometimes I'm looking, he's at number 48 on the list. Okay. So I'm about 25 places higher than breakfast sandwiches. And the commish McCaffrey's at 56th place right now. So there's 55 people are doing better than the commish right now at PGF Fantasy. You guys should be running the PGF, not McCaffrey. You're doing better than he is. But no, this is great, man. I'm having a great time with the fantasy too. It's a lot of fun. We actually need to get the updates for our fantasy teams, right? For our personal bullpen fantasies, because I haven't been tracking those.
Well, I have some news for you. I do have some tracking.
All right.
So for that particular update, Tim, it bugs me because I didn't have the time to make a graphic, so I have to use eggs. But maybe this is a good thing because then you guys get to see what I have to work with here. So this is what I got tagged in the other day, and I don't know what I need to do. It's like volunteering myself for extra work, but you guys be the judge here. Should I help my man Egg out with this presentation?
That's classic Egg.
This is the update we got. And this is like, this isn't screaming fantasy, war each other, let's get some points. This screams, Raf, you need to turn in your timesheet, otherwise you don't get paid. This screams, Raf, you have to do a drop down, and then you have to do the sum, and then you have to make sure it's in this box, otherwise it doesn't work. We have to fix this, okay? So, Egg, I am going to come up with a template, and I'm going to give it to you. Because this presentation did not make me feel like I was the leader on the leaderboard, which I am. It makes me feel like I hit 2 home runs in Little League, and my dad sketched in part of the little thing they give the parents here. So all I want you to do, Egg, is I want you to update this template with the numbers you get on your fancy spreadsheet here. I know it's like an extra step, but I promise you people will be more into it than just raw numbers. Oh no, Parker, this is mean, and I don't want to say this on air, but I will. You'd think a guy that smart could figure out how to use colors on an Excel. Now, I know he knows how to use one color. I've seen yellow happen, and yellow has been very important. In fact, yellow was the saving grace for us at the draft because he had a very good spreadsheet that let us know when people spent too much money. So he knows one color.
Listen, this is a 1040 long form that you have to file on your taxes. That's what he took this template from. That's why there's no colors on it.
Yeah. So, Egg, we will help you out here, sir. But nonetheless, I am in front with 23 points. Not a surprise. You're 2-time champ, obviously number 1 right now. But not far behind is Team Tim, who's not doing bad. And I think is definitely hoping Matt Mash has a much better day tomorrow. But then behind him, Stephen Aiken, the Dream, and end of story. Think that's it. It says, yeah, it looks like he can use black, so chalk it up to that. To do. Black is a color. You are, I think, correct on that. So yeah, it does count. But let's put it this way. Egg has Jet Thompson. So if Jet Thompson has a good day, which I'm not against, Egg has a good day, which I am against. But it is kind of glorious to see him be deep 4th for right now. And then it begs the question, how do our alternates work? Because if that's the case, is Mike John not getting him any points tomorrow? I don't know. We will find out as this goes. And actually, Team Egg is number one in picking the people who are not playing tomorrow. So congrats to that.
I think what it is I'm so jealous of Egg that he comes so prepared and he's got like these reasons. And then when I make a pick, I hear him go like, oh, no, 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 no. Or you guys, I can't believe you guys left this guy for me. Then I'm like, oh no, what did I do? I should have knew that. So when I see him at the bottom, I'm just like, you know what? I got the streets in my belly. That's how I make my picks. I like it, man.
I do too. So anyway, I do feel good about that. And we're going to advance this now to the last two topics, the first of which is going to be chat in itself. So we already kind of gave a preview here. And without giving a full screenshot today, we will just give you a recap of what somebody said. And Tim, your job is to guess who said this, okay?
And these are the athletes, I'm assuming.
So this is an athlete in the athlete chat. Okay?
Okay.
And it says, what if we're tricking you and you pull up at 11 and it's just go Johnny and the door locks behind you and he asks, want to learn the Kosovo cradle? Who wrote that joke?
I'm going to go with... It's not Christian Olivo. I don't think it's him. I think it might be CJ Murdoch because he's a guy that's provocative.
Unfortunately, it was not CJ Murdoch. Let me make sure if I have the buzzer sound. There we go. It was actually Landon Elmore. Landon Elmore coming in had 9 laugh emojis off of that one.
Wow.
So just let you know.
He's on the laugh emoji leaderboard.
He is on the laugh emoji. He does have the best reactions so far. And I say this as somebody who put in and only got 2 laugh emojis on one of his posts. I've only chimed in twice. So I definitely haven't gone too much off that. But I thought that was a pretty good one. There was somebody else here who said something that I thought was pretty interesting. Okay, here it is. BMAC, the commish, was asking if everybody had gone ahead and if all of their smooth comp looks correct. This was what one of them responded with. I don't know if this is normal. It says I'm in the playoffs bracket and that I already won. Other than that, normal.
Who said that?
Mm-hmm.
This would be somebody who was young and would get confused. I'm going to go with, and I'll explain my reasoning before you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Just hear me out. I'm going to go with JJ Bowers because probably he was looking back at his last year's Little League tournament results and he thought he was the PGF and his Little League team had won the playoffs. And so he got confused. I'm going JJ Bowers.
And the answer is wrong. Unfortunately,
I can't
not
believe
JJ
I got
Bowers.
that wrong.
This one was Rafael, a.k.a. Rafa Ferreira. He responded, I don't know if this is normal. It says I'm in the playoffs bracket and that I already won. Other than that, normal. So this dude, not only high on the points board, but letting people know in the group chat, some little gamesmanship there. So that tweener, not the heel, not the baby face, but right in between. And then just for our gallery section here, let's go ahead and close with this because I feel like this is a good prompt to have for us right now. It says, you guys should have it in the contract that PGF fighters can't keep their smooth comp private. It makes it difficult to see the results and matchups. And what are they afraid of? I'll be honest with you. I would agree. I think once you're on our staff as an athlete, I think you do have to kind of put it out there. Or if you're really that weirded out about it, maybe you have to make a new profile just for PGF. But whatever it is, I do understand that. But what you're saying is at home, and let me just see if I got this right. Vimal, not sure if it's Vimal. My apologies one way or another. I think what you're trying to do is I think you're trying to get the edge on that fantasy. I think you're trying to figure out
Yeah.
who's a
Yeah.
good person worth your investments, and I am all here for that. Unfortunately, some of these guys do have private profiles, so we do have to admit that and say we'll see if that's something that gets amended. But I am in your corner because I'm always trying to find out who's won and who's lost. I say this though as somebody whose smooth comp profile private is currently on because I'm like, listen, guys, there's lots of Rafaels.
Is Smooth Comp legit, or is it self, like you just put in your own record? Or is it like they keep track of their tournaments?
It's so that when you go to compete, they have you and then they log that stuff. So yeah, sometimes it might have some very, very sad information that's like, oh shit, this dude lost by throwing up once, or this dude lost by forgetting what day of the week it was and didn't show up. Womp womp. Those things happen. So I would tell you this. I think in the future, that's going to be something that gets a little bit more modified. But you know what? For right now, though, I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a pause on this action. And I think it's time to get to the action on the stage. But before we do, why don't we turn it over to a man who, again, the most distinguished, the best looking, and perhaps the most knowledgeable. You know what? The team leader for fantasy. Let's hand it over to him right now. Is what I would say if I was doing the show tomorrow. So when you guys see this tomorrow, just pretend like you haven't seen it. It just cut right there. Ta-da, movie magic. So we have taught you a little bit about that. But Tim, tell the people where they can find you, sir. Where can they go to see more stuff from you?
Catch me on Inside BJJ at Inside BJJ, all your favorite social media platforms. I got some new stuff I'm cooking up. Be on the lookout for it soon. If you're out in Nashville, come see me at 10th Planet Nashville. And if you're out in Stockton, please see my homies out there at 10th Planet Stockton. Great to be here today, Raf. Week 2 PGF. Let's go.
Thank you very much for that, Tim. And listen, dude, I'm going to continue to hold it down for us over there. I appreciate your time here today, sir. And another great installment. Some really good analysis here, and I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you guys. Our thanks to Tim. Let's get him on out of here. But let me close this up for you guys. If you like what you see here over at the Bullpen, I simply ask that you go like, comment, and subscribe on the show. So find us wherever you're finding us. If you're watching on PGF World, go check us out at Inside BJJ for Tim and the Grappling Hour for me. At the Grappling Hour, you see my interviews. It is weekly. It is nonstop. You guys get plenty of content there. And I'm very excited to tell you guys that, yes, I will be doing more work tomorrow live from the PGF. So you will see me not only do a little bit of a live segment before we go live for the matches, you'll also see me do the post show tomorrow night right after all of the event concludes. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that information. Additionally, you guys can also catch me at patreon.com/grappling hour for $5 a month. You can see my interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra dollars, you can support your boy here and give me some cash that'll help pay for this gas in this economy. And it goes directly back into supporting this show. But that's going to do it for us here, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate your love and support. And, we're going to I'm going to pack up right here and I'm getting back on the road and I'm heading down to Vegas. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.